When my daughter opened my purse, her smile collapsed so fast it looked like her face forgot how to hold itself together. Rowan had walked into my living room with all the confidence of a newly married woman who believed the world would bend for her. But the moment she lifted the small leather flap and saw the envelope inside, something in her went silent. Not soft sharp, like glass cracking. "Mom, what is this?" she whispered. Her fingers hovered above the envelope as if she expected it to burn her. Owen stood just outside the doorway, arms crossed, tapping his foot like he had already spent the money he assumed I would hand over. Rowan didn't look back at him. She just stared into that purse as though something inside had reached out and grabbed her by the throat. I didn't answer. I didn't explain. I let the weight of the moment sit between us, heavy enough that even Owen stopped tapping. Rowan swallowed hard. Is this about the wedding?" The word wedding hit the air with a sting. I felt it along the back of my neck, the way you feel a cold wind slide under your clothes. She waited for me to speak, but I didn't. Instead, I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down slowly, steadying myself with the table edge. 2 days earlier, I had been gripping something very different, the hand of a stranger, as she tried to help me stand after my hip gave out on a floor covered in spilled champagne. I hadn't planned on remembering it in fragments, but even now I could feel the way my palms pressed against the polished wood, how the music drowned out my voice, how Rowan's eyes flicked toward me and then away. Rowan finally touched the envelope. She didn't open it yet. She just pinched the corner, the way a person picks up a letter they already know will hurt. Before she could speak again, I exhaled and let my voice settle into the calm I had practiced. "Sit down." "Rowan," I said, "there are things you need to understand." Her breath hitched. Owen lingered at the doorway, pretending he wasn't listening. And as she lowered herself into the chair, the memory of that fall 2 days earlier rose up as clear as daylight, pulling me back whether I wanted it to or not. 2 days earlier, Charleston felt loud in a way that pressed against my ribs. Rowan's wedding reception swarmed with people, all heels and laughter and bright dresses. She had chosen a venue overlooking the harbor, the kind that cost more than I ever admitted. The kind she could only afford because I paid the deposit and covered the last-minute florist panic. Rowan floated through the room like she was untouched by gravity. I watched her glide between guests, her arm looped around Owen's, her smile polished to perfection. Every time she passed, someone whispered about how elegant she looked. No one mentioned who had funded half the elegance. "Elyria, take a plate," a server said as he hurried by. I reached for one, stepping aside, and my shoe slid over something slick. The next moment, my body twisted. My hip slammed hard, a sound thudding through me before I even felt the pain. The floor rushed up, and my breath left in a broken gasp. I looked up, dazed, hearing chairs scrape and conversations pause. Rowan turned. Her eyes met mine clear, direct, recognizing. For a heartbeat, she didn't move. "Rowan," I croaked. Her lips parted, a flicker of something crossing her face. Then she turned back toward the photographer. "We still need the family shots," she said, her voice steady. A few guests glanced over, then away, pretending they didn't see me sprawled on the floor. It was a strange kind of invisibility, one that made my hands shake more than the fall. A soft voice came from behind me. "Aunt Elyria, hold on." It was my cousin Mara, distant in relation, but the closest thing to compassion in the room. She crouched, slid her arm under mine, and helped me sit up. "Did anyone call Rowan?" she whispered. "I'm fine," I lied, swallowing the sharp ache. When I finally stood, leaning on Mara's arm, I glanced across the room. Rowan was already posing again, her head tilted just so, laughing like nothing had happened. I pulled out my phone and dialed her. She looked at the screen, expression flat, and pressed the button to end the call. Mara steadied me as the music swelled again, and in that moment, something small and quiet inside me cracked. The kind of crack that doesn't heal the same once it starts. The night after the wedding, I moved slowly through my house, one hand pressed to the bruised side of my hip. Every step reminded me of the moment I hit the floor, but the ache in my chest was sharper than anything in my bones. I sat at the kitchen table and waited for my phone to light up. It didn't. Around 9 in the evening, my screen finally buzzed. For a second, I let myself hope. It was only a notification from Rowan's social media. She had posted a long carousel of photos, her dress swirling, Owen dipping her toward the camera, champagne exploding like fireworks. The caption read, "Best day of my life." Comments poured in instantly. "You look radiant. Your mom must be so proud. Such a perfect family moment." I stared at the words until they blurred. Rowan hadn't tagged me. There wasn't a single picture of us together, not even a mention. My neighbor June knocked lightly on the back door. "You home, Elyria," she called, stepping inside. "Mara told me you took a fall." "I'm fine," I replied, though my voice was thin, just tired. June studied me for a moment. "You sure Rowan didn't check on you?" I shook my head. The motion hurt more than I wanted to admit. "She'll call," June said gently. She just got swept up in wedding things. I didn't answer. Instead, I reached for my phone again, and that was when the second notification appeared. A bank alert from the emergency credit card I had given Rowan when she turned 18. She had promised to use it only for medical needs or real emergencies. Transaction approved. The alert read, "Luxury decor rental, $980, timestamp the night before her wedding." June saw my expression change. "What happened?" I handed her the phone. She exhaled slowly. "She knew you were covering half the costs already. Why would she—" "I don't want to talk about it," I murmured. Rowan posted 3 more photo sets before midnight, each one brighter, grander, more polished than the last. Still no message, no missed call, no, "Are you all right, Mom?" By the time I turned off the lights, the silence in the house had settled into something that felt less like waiting and more like understanding. 2 days passed before I heard her voice again. Late morning, I was easing myself onto the porch chair when Rowan hurried up the steps, her breath quick, but her expression rehearsed. "Mom," she said, brushing hair from her face. "How are you? You know, after everything." "Everything," I repeated softly. "That's one way to put it." She gave a quick laugh. Too bright. "Well, you know weddings. Busy, chaotic." She glanced down the driveway. Owen sat in the car with the engine running, sunglasses on, tapping the steering wheel like he had someplace better to be. "Is he not coming in?" I asked. "He's just waiting," she said. "We won't be long." Then she stepped closer. "You didn't get hurt too badly, right?" I stared at her, letting the quiet stretch. "You saw me fall, Rowan." She flinched. I didn't really see. The lights were weird. You were walking too fast. You know how slippery those floors are." "Slippery enough for me to hit the ground," I said. "Not slippery enough to stop you from taking photos." She looked away, jaw tightening. "Mom, I don't want to get into this. We came because we need to talk to you about something important. I asked Owen and I," she said, lowering her voice like she was delivering devastating news. "The wedding ended up costing way more than we expected. A few vendors charged us extra. Some deposits didn't come through. It's a mess, I see." "So," she continued, with a practiced sigh, "we were hoping you could help us. Just a temporary loan. Nothing huge. We'll pay you back once everything stabilizes." I let her words sit between us. She shifted, growing impatient. You helped with college, she added quickly, and the wedding deposit. And well, you've always supported me. This wouldn't be any different. This would be very different, I said. Rowan folded her arms. Mom, we're newlyweds. We need this. It's not like I'm asking for $200,000. Just enough to get us through. I looked past her to the car. Owen revved the engine. Irritated, she stepped closer. So can you do it? Can you help us? The wind moved lightly through the porch railings, the only sound between us. Come inside, I said quietly. If you're here for something, we should talk at the table. Her shoulders dropped in relief, but her eyes never softened. Behind her, the engine kept running. Rowan stepped into the kitchen like she owned the air inside it. She sat down at the table before I did and folded her hands neatly, as if she were about to negotiate a business deal. Mom, she began, I need you to really hear me. Owen and I are under a lot of pressure. You don't want us starting our marriage stressed, do you? Her sweet tone scraped against me like sandpaper. I took the seat across from her. Rowan, I said quietly, you are not being honest about what happened at the wedding. She waved her hand dismissively. Can we not go over that again? It was a big night. Everyone was looking at us. You falling kind of ruined the vibe, but I'm trying not to dwell on it. I stared at her, stunned. She didn't pause. And look, everyone else's parents contributed more than you did. I mean, seriously, Owen's parents covered nearly everything for his sister's wedding. It's pretty normal. I paid your college tuition, I reminded her. Every semester. And your therapy bills for 3 years. And the wedding deposit. She gave a soft laugh. Well, yeah, that's what parents do. Besides, she leaned forward. You raised me. And that was not easy. You owe me for sticking through all that. Owe you. My voice caught. Not from anger, but from the sudden understanding that slid into place. This wasn't new. This was a pattern, a long one. Rowan pushed her hair behind her ear, her voice turning sharper. Honestly, Mom, it's your job to help. I should not have to beg for something that benefits the family. We are your family. My fingers curled around the edge of the table. Her eyes were steady, confident, certain she would get what she wanted. I see, I said. She leaned back with a sigh of relief, mistaking my words for surrender. So, she said, smiling now, how much can you give us? The room held still as I let the last remnants of hope fall away. Rowan waited for my answer like she was waiting for a waiter to deliver a bill she expected someone else to pay. Her fingers tapped the table, sharp, rhythmic, impatient. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I reached for the old leather purse hanging from the back of the chair and set it gently between us. Rowan's eyes flicked to it, and a smirk tugged at the corner of her mouth. Thank you, she said, already sounding victorious. I knew you'd come around. I didn't say I came around, I replied. She ignored that, reaching for the purse with the confidence of someone certain they're about to be rewarded. You always keep checks in here, she said, or cash. This will help a lot. Her hand slipped under the flap. Searching. The smirk stayed on her face for 3 slow seconds, then wavered. What? Where is it? She murmured. In the purse, I said. Keep looking. She reached deeper, her expression tightening. Her fingers brushed something flat. She pulled out a single cream-colored envelope, sealed, with her name written in my careful handwriting. Mom, Rowan said, irritation rising. What is this supposed to be? Open it. She didn't move. I asked for money, not whatever this is. I know what you asked for. I said, open it. Her jaw clenched. She slid her thumb under the edge of the envelope, but she didn't break the seal yet. She only stared at her name, as if the ink itself threatened her. "This isn't funny," she muttered. "It is not a joke," I said. "Go on." Rowan swallowed. The irritation on her face thinned into confusion, then sharpened into something tense, something wary. Her eyes lifted to mine. "Why does this feel like a setup?" she whispered. "It feels like the truth," I said. She drew in a breath, her fingers trembling just slightly as she held the envelope that was about to dismantle everything she thought she understood. Rowan finally broke the seal. The paper inside rustled, louder than it should have, as if the room itself leaned in to hear. She unfolded the letter slowly, her eyes catching on the first lines before her lips moved. "Mom, what is this?" "Read it," I said. Her eyes dropped again. "Rowan, 2 days ago, I fell. I did not fall quietly. I did not fall gently. I called your name the moment my body hit the floor. You looked at me, and then you turned away." She blinked hard. "You're exaggerating." "No." I said, "I'm remembering." She kept reading. "This was not the first time you stepped over my pain. I paid your therapy bills for 3 years when you said you could not manage your emotions. I covered your college semesters when you failed classes and blamed me for distracting you. I paid the wedding deposit the day you cried about canceling the venue. I did all of it quietly, because I loved you." Her shoulders tensed. "Why are you writing it like an accusation?" "It is a history," I replied. Rowan read the next paragraph faster, as if speed could soften the words. "You spent the emergency trust your father and I set aside for you. All of it. You told me it was untouched. It was gone a year ago." She glanced up sharply. "You checked my trust. That is invasive." "I checked the truth," I said. Her fingers tightened around the page. Then she reached the final lines. "As of last week, you are no longer included in my estate. This is not punishment. It is protection. I will not leave my life's work in the hands of someone who walks away when I am on the ground." Her breath hitched. She looked back into the purse. There, beside the empty envelope, was a certified copy of the new trust documents, stamped and notarized. Beneath it, a small photo printed. Not digital. A guest had sent it to me. The picture showed Rowan turning away as I lay on the floor. Rowan snatched it up. "Who took this? Why would you show me this before I answered?" Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Owen had texted, "Get the money or do not come back embarrassed." Her face drained of color. I folded my hands on the table. Steady, calm, waiting to see just how far she planned to go now that love was no longer currency she could spend. Rowan slammed the letter onto the table so hard the envelopes shifted. "This is revenge," she snapped. "You waited until after my wedding to pull this stunt. You wanted to ruin something for me." I kept my voice steady. "I wanted you to see me." "Oh, stop it," she shot back. "You are twisting everything. You always pit me against everyone else. You always favor people who aren't even family." Her eyes shone. Not from tears of hurt, but from humiliation. The text from Owen kept her pulse racing. "You removed me from your estate," she said. "You are unbelievable." "I protected what I earned," I replied. She surged forward. Hands braced on the table. "That trust was supposed to be mine. Dad left it to me. You emptied it." I said, "A year ago." "That is a lie." I reached into the purse and set down a small stack of printed statements. Receipts. You requested transfers for luxury items, dresses, rings, a weekend spa trip in Asheville. I needed those things, Rowan said, her voice cracking. I needed to look a certain way before the wedding. That was not an emergency. It was to me. Before I could respond, the front door burst open. Owen marched in. voice already raised. What is taking so long? Did you get the money? Rowan tried to hush him. Not now. But he was already glaring at me. You are being cruel. She told me how unstable you can be. Just sign something and we will leave. I leaned back in my chair. I do not owe you anything. Yes, you do, he snapped. You paid some of the vendors already. You knew we were in trouble. I paid what I could, I said. 3 vendors called me directly. They said Rowan promised money she did not have. I covered what I could so they would not take legal action against her. That never happened, Rowan said sharply. I slid the printed emails across the table. They sent confirmation. Rowan stared at the papers as if they were written in a language she did not understand. Owen's jaw tightened. We still need money. Now. Then you will need to find another source. I said. His face reddened, anger swelling into something reckless. The air in the room shifted. The storm had finally touched down. And none of them seemed prepared for the fact that the bank they depended on had closed forever. Chapter 9. The Decision That Freed Me. 300 words. Owen took one step toward me. Shoulders squared, anger running ahead of his sense. You are going to help us, he said. Stop acting like you hold all the power. I do hold it, I answered. And I am done being threatened in my own home. Leave. He didn't move. Rowan grabbed his arm. Owen, stop! No, he barked. She owes you. She owes us. Your father would have. Do not speak about my husband, I said. My voice steady but final. Rowan threw up her hands. Mom, this is family business. Stop making everything dramatic. Family does not behave like this, I said, and reached for the phone on the counter. Rowan's eyes widened. What are you doing, calling the police? You would really do that to your own daughter, she screamed. Owen laughed harshly. She's bluffing. I was not. The call connected. I spoke clearly, calmly, as Owen's face twisted in disbelief. Within minutes, a cruiser pulled up. Charleston neighbors peeked from porches and windows, their murmurs floating across the street. Rowan flushed scarlet. Ma'am, one officer said. You asked them to leave and they refused. Yes, I said. Rowan clutched her purse. This is ridiculous. She's my mother. We're talking about private things. Owen pointed at me. She's unstable. She needs, sir. The officer cut in. You need to step outside immediately. The officers guided them both toward the door. Rowan kept insisting. Mom, just talk to me. We can still fix this. But her voice never reached apology. Only panic. When the door closed behind them, the house settled into a silence that finally felt like mine. I walked to my desk, opened the drawer, and pulled out the stack of documents waiting for my signature. June's name sat clearly on the beneficiary line, a woman who once rushed me to the hospital when I broke my wrist, who had shown more care than my daughter had in years. As I signed, I found an old letter from my late husband tucked behind the file. His neat handwriting said, Rowan may grow to believe the world owes her. Protect yourself if that day comes. I placed the letter beside the fresh signatures and let the ink dry. The next afternoon, Rowan called once. I let it ring. When it stopped, a message followed. You humiliated us. Owen says you did this on purpose. You owe me a real explanation. No apology, no acknowledgement, only blame. The same pattern wearing a different coat. June stepped into the kitchen, carrying a small bag of groceries. You holding up? She asked, setting the bag on the counter. I am, I said, more than I expected. She watched me for a moment. You did the right thing, I know. My phone rang again. Rowan this time did not bother with politeness. Mom, she snapped the second I answered. Everyone is talking. My friends saw the police at your house. Do you have any idea what that makes me look like? This is not about how you look, I said. It is absolutely about how I look. She insisted. People think I forced you to change the trust. Owen says you made a scene because you like attention. I closed my eyes, letting her voice spill through the speaker like cold water. Owen resents you, she continued. He thinks you set us up to fail. He thinks I heard enough. I interrupted softly. Wait. No. Rowan, I said. You chose your path. I chose mine. There was a long silence on her end, broken only by a shaky breath. So that is it. You are just cutting me out. I am letting go. I said, there is a difference. Her voice trembled. Not from grief, but from the frustration of losing power. You are ruining my life. No, I said. You did that without my help. She hung up. I set the phone down and felt a calm settle into the room. Not triumph, just release. My daughter ignored me when I fell. I said quietly. June looked at me, waiting. So I let her fall out of my future. And that was the first time in a long time. I did not hit the ground. If you want to hear the rest of my story, stay with me. Because some falls break you and some falls save you. Dave.